Club of Rome that also belongs to the same group. In the 1990s, the two founders said that back in the 1970s at the Club of Rome, they were given the task as a premier think tank for the globe, this global society, the task to find ways of reducing the population and controlling the people to go along with this, convincing the public how to go along with it. And they said they'd looked at all possible means of doing so. What had worked before? Again, geopolitics, strategy. Under warfare conditions, the public will give up freedom. The public will be directed by governments, bureaucracies, and police, military, etc. Under warfare, the public sacrifice. They'll have less food, they'll ration stuff. They go along with it to save themselves.
People just exercising our First Amendment.
It's all done through the alteration and distortion of perceptions. Massive psychology is used on all of this. And they certainly understand mass psychology of the general public.
No, we got secret society is all the political dudes, you know, the rappers now with the little kufiyas and all that, fake rappers that never been to fucking Middle East, never been to Palestine. I ain't talking about anybody specific. I'm talking about the whole culture, jocking shit they never been through. You dissing America, straight up, I'm gonna keep it real. I love fucking America, straight up. I don't give a shit if you don't like the president. You're free here. You can open up a business across the street here. You know what I mean? You ain't gonna get your head cut the fuck off. You know what I mean? A lot of these other countries, you're gonna get deaded. So my whole thing is, I'm pro everybody here. You know what I mean? You go through New York, you see all cultures, homie. So I ain't with all that fake political shit. If you really about it, become a politician. You know what I mean? That's where I come from. But I just want to make one thing clear. So my whole thing is, you know, I mean, really, the political side, for me to come with that, I got to really be feeling that movement.
A difficult thing for some people to understand is what's happening today is not just an elite making a final move to take over anything. Every generation for hundreds of years has been brought up with the same elites, predecessors, designing and running the show for each generation. The elite, in fact, are simply moving their system into a new system, an updated system to suit themselves.
Their realism, you know what I mean? Everybody's realism, you know what I mean? I'm feeling that more than talking about a government Illuminati when realistically, how the fuck do we know what is what? Right. You never really know. You know why you don't know what is what? Because if you even knew too much right now, you'd be dead.
Well, let me just say this. The tradition of great performers from, and I really want you to hear what I have to say. The tradition of great performers from Sammy Davis Jr. to James Brown to Jackie Wilson to Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly. The story is usually the same though, you know, these guys work really hard at their craft, but the story ends the same. They usually are broken, torn, and usually just sad.
He said, it's business. I've said for many years that the biggest international corporations are real corporations, but they're also front groups for one system.
The companies take advantage of them. They really do. And Sony being the artist that I am at Sony, I've generated several $1 billion for Sony, several billion, and they really thought that my mind is always on music and dancing, and it usually is, but they never thought that this performer, myself, would outthink them. We can't let them get away with what they're trying to do, because now I'm a free agent.
Yeah.
I just owe Sony one more album. It's just a box set, really. And it's with 2 new songs, which I've written ages ago. Because every album that I record, I write, like, literally, I'm telling you the truth, I write at least 120 songs every album I do. So I can do the box set and just give them any 2 songs. So I'm leaving Sony a free agent. Owning half of Sony.
They've been trained to believe things are happening at the moment by happenstance, by crisis coming out of nowhere. And here's what we must do. We must solve this problem at the time. Nothing is further from the truth. And when people wake up, they generally go through the same stages as someone who becomes bereaved when you find that democracy never existed in the first place. You go through an anger phase, a depression phase. You'll blame whoever is handy, and then hopefully you emerge from it and you become active and you want to learn what's really going on.
I feel like a UFO, because just like UFOs, I too am appearing in obscure southern towns in front of handfuls of hillbillies. And just like UFOs, these hillbillies find me equally incomprehensible.
How about a nice round of applause for Mr. Bill Hicks?
Yeah. Good to be here. I haven't been here in 2 years. Thanks. Yeah, I've noticed a certain anti-intellectualism going around this country, man, ever since around 1980. I got nothing against drugs. I think it's a personal choice. Just like alcohol, just like cigarettes. As long as that personal choice does not infringe upon the freedoms of another person's personal choice. Really, that's the end of the story. That's called logic. It'll help you. George Bush says we are losing the war on drugs. Well, you know what that implies? There's a war going on, and people on drugs are winning it. Well, what does that tell you about drugs? Some smart, creative motherfuckers on that side. They're winning a war and they're fucked up.
The Tommy Chong is here. So, Tommy, good to see you. We brought you in to talk about this New York State, about lessening the laws for possession in public. But you have an announcement to make. What is it?
My announcement is that I was diagnosed with prostate cancer about a month ago. And I'm going to start treating it with cannabis oil or hemp oil or pot oil. And the reason I'm treating it with hemp oil is because I looked at a video just recently called Run from the Cure by Rick Simpson. And it documents a whole, how he cured his melanoma cancer by using hemp oil.
You believe that, you think that you got prostate cancer in prison after, you know, the paraphernalia and the company, the internet company selling the bongs. This was 2003. You think that you got it in prison? Why?
Yeah, that's my feeling, because I was totally healthy when I went in jail, and I hadn't smoked pot before I went in jail, and then while I was in jail, I was clean as a whistle because they drug tested me almost every day, and I started having problems with my prostate right there. I remember very well, because when you have problems, you have to get up in the middle of the night and you got to pee a lot. And then I also contacted gout while I was in prison from the food. And so I think it's a combination of the food and the fact that the prison itself in Taft, California, is built over a toxic waste dump. And they have a thing there called valley fever that other prisoners were getting, and they don't even know what it was. It's some sort of wasting disease. So I think I got it there, yeah.
We should tell you haven't smoked pot in how long? People think you're a pothead, but you haven't smoked pot in...
No, well, I laid off for about a year, you know, when I started getting kind of weird health issues, you know, which actually turned out to be prostate cancer. And so I did everything. I'm a very holistic person. I went on the juices and everything, you know, no red meat and the whole bit. And so, but now that I found out that the hemp oil will help the prostate, hey, I'm back, man.
Do you think people are short-sighted because many people have an issue with it morally? And do you think people are being short-sighted about, especially the, you know, what marijuana can do to you as it compares to alcohol and other drugs, and also what it means economically? Should we, and meaning the country as a whole and our leaders, be looking at regulating marijuana as a way to help to boost this economy?
Actually, I'm against it. I think it's leave it the way it is. I mean, we don't need more taxes. We don't need to be taxing something like they're doing with tobacco, you know. I mean, because, again, where does the tax money go? It goes into a black hole called the government.
I think people are going to, people are going to think that, find it odd that you're saying you don't think it should be legalized. Let's get this straight. You don't think pot should be legalized?
No, I don't think it should be taxed.
You don't think
I think it should be totally, it should be totally legal. Yeah, but it shouldn't be taxed.
Why? How can you legalize it and regulate it and then not tax it? Most things that are regulated and legalized are taxed.
All you have to do is decriminalize it. Just take away the criminal penalties. We don't need a system of who we're going to buy it from. We got growers that we buy it from. We don't need we got people that deal that will come to your house. We don't need a government regulation to tell us this is good pot, that's bad pot. We don't need any of that. We've got everything in place. Just take away the penalties.
Tommy Chong, thank you so much. Thank you for being candid with us about prostate cancer and for telling our viewers in that exclusive here on CNN, and we wish you the very best, okay?
Thank you, and I want to come back and when I'm cured and let you know how it went, okay?
Yes, we'll have you back.
Thanks, man.
AIDS, man, I swear, what other generation had anything comparable to AIDS? You know what I mean? The 50s, rug burn. Boy, I don't know how much AIDS scares y'all, but I got a theory. The day they come out with a cure for AIDS, guaranteed one shot, no problem, cure, on that day, there's going to be fucking in the streets, man. It's over! Who are you? Come here! No, it's over. Yeah. Fuck your head off, baby. Goddamn. That's what's going to happen, goddamn. I'm going to fuck your head right off.
Fucking dummy Newt Gingrich, this would-be king, fat-headed clown. This guy actually said that he believed that the founding fathers would be much more aggressive in the way they would prosecute people for marijuana, and that they would do it probably much more violently.
They were growing it themselves?
Not only were they growing it themselves, it says in George Washington's fucking diaries that he was separating the male from the female plant. It's very clear that he says he was separating the male from the female plant. For people who don't know, when you're growing marijuana, you got to separate the male from the female plant so that the female grows the buds and that they become psychedelic. That's how you make it so you get high from it.
Right.
So George Washington is essentially saying he likes to get high.
Right.
And he said, oops, a little too late. So he's a fucking stoner. He separated them too late. I mean, what did you have to do back then? I mean, how many different things did he have going on? Right. George Washington was a fucking stoner, dude. Almost 100%.
God bless him.
For sure they grew it. And by the way, they grew hemp, and they grew hemp because they used it for a lot of things outside of the psychoactive effects. They used it for all sorts of different things, and there's all these different passages, people smoking on their hemp pipe. It's written in so many different people's diaries.
When George Washington said that, he did mean his slaves were separating it for him.
Never want to make you cry, never want to make you sigh, never want to break your heart.
I wouldn't worry about that without a dick, buddy. You got a corn nut. You have a clit. You're not even a guy. You're an AIDS germ that got off a slide. They're putting music to AIDS germs, putting a drum machine behind them in a metronome beat, and Ted Turner's colorizing them, goddammit. These aren't even really people, man. It's a CIA plot to make you think malls are good. Don't you see? But Bill, malls are good. Malls allow us to shop 365 days of the year at 72 degrees. That must be a goodness.
At that. You know, it's a big football game. It's sad to me to see how you can't watch the news without them covering this as though it's relevant or important to anything.
Yeah.
As though any decision processes that these people will have the power to take hold of will actually accomplish anything, when it's obvious from our last great hope, Obama, that big business isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, I think
it doesn't matter who's in power. Even Ron Paul, if he was magically to be swept in with bulletproof vest on and everything else, you'll see some dramatic shifts in his policy the moment he comes in, because he knows what's actually possible in that environment.
We're happy consumers. I'm a happy consumer. And you know, I'm concerned about what my children consume. I'd like to consume the barrel of a 12-gauge shotgun right now if I could. Thank you, because I'm in hell.
Before the shitstorm hits him from all sides. You know, all the examples of what they did to Ralph Nader, you know, with the prostitution thing. I don't know if you remember that, the car company.
I don't remember what happened.
There was basically a car company set up Ralph Nader in a hotel room with a prostitute, and then documented it because he was doing all this publicity against this car company, how unsafe they're cutting costs on their car production. He found out very discreetly how bad it was. People were dying, and they tried to set him up and to make him look bad with this prostitute. Wow. It was incredible. That's just the tip of the iceberg of all sorts of games that are played. You can go straight down the whole political spectrum and look at all the things that seem random, Lewinsky and all these things.
Right.
There's a subtle orchestration happening to that, not to be conspiratorially oriented, but that's just the way it is. You don't mess around. It's a mafia system.
I want to know where to get casting for that, because I would love to be a part of the next one. You know, like I'm found in Obama's locker room.
Drink up, have fun. There is no death. Drink up, have fun, don't suffer, don't feel guilty. Drink up, have fun, don't feel guilty, don't suffer. There is no death. God loves you no matter what you do. You are the perfect and holy child of God. And as my friend Jimmy Pineapple would say, case fucking closed. Because I get depressed. You don't think I don't? Shit. You think I'm wearing all black in the summertime? Because I'm a fucking ray of sunshine, dude? The fact that we live in a world where John Lennon was murdered, yet Barry Manilow continues to put out albums. Oh, yeah. Woo. Man, if you're going to kill somebody, have some fucking taste. I'll drive you to Kenny Rogers' house. Get in the car, I know where Wham lives. You gotta have faith. Dun, dun. No, George, you gotta have talent, dude. New rule. And you can shave that 2-day growth of beard off, because you're fooling no one, you big girl. For the record, let's not mince words, our very lives depend upon truth. George Michaels is a big girl. If you ladies like him, you're dykes. That's the way it is. That's cool. I've always said the only thing more beautiful than a woman is two of them. So go ahead and like them. But understand that is a part of you that makes you want to go down on another woman. That's all. Every time you listen to the record, you're thinking, God, I'd love to eat another woman's pussy. But fine, enjoy it. You know, enjoy it. Don't feel guilty. Do what you want to do, and God loves you no matter what you do. But understand that every time you listen to George Michael or give him money, that you're thinking, my God, what would I not give to have a bush in my mouth right now? My God, to smell that stinky little peach fish. Oh, Lord. Oh, give me that stuff. Let it drip like honey. But understand that that's cool. But that is what it is. George Michaels, man. Have you seen this guy? He's hawking Diet Cokes now. Have you seen that commercial? Woo, Diet Coke. I'm George Michael. Woo, I'm a rock star. What kind of Reagan wet dream is this fucking world, man? These are our rock stars, yeah? Hawking Diet Cokes. What real rock star would do something like that? It's Keith Moon for Snickers. Sometimes I'm doing a drum solo and I haven't eaten for like 3 fucking weeks. The needle broke off in me arm. I eat a Snickers. That's a rock star. Diet Coke. Why don't you just put a skirt on and get on a swing set for that commercial, George? Diet Coke. Come on, y'all. Let's drink Diet Coke together and listen to rock music. Come on. Come on, everybody. I got extra panties in the tour bus. Let's go. Come on, I got panties for everybody. We're going to drink Diet Coke so our little bottoms doesn't get too big. God, we love little bottoms, don't we, girls? Yes, we do. Make me fucking sick. Everybody's hawking products, though. That's the highest thing you can achieve in our culture, isn't it? Become some barker. Gosh, getting into it. Who do I kill? Sinatra sells beer. He doesn't have enough fucking money, you know? Nothing's sacred. I'm waiting to see It's Jesus for Miller. I was crucified, dead for 3 days, resurrected. I've waited 2,000 years to return to earth. It's Miller time. You know, Jesus, it doesn't get better than this. Are y'all into this, or am I like, can I get off now?
Later that evening in a bar which I believe was called Alibis. And I state believe because I have failed so far to get Citigroup to provide the credit card receipts that has the actual name. I mentioned I could use a line or two to wake up. Senator Obama asked me if I was referring to Coke, and I stated I was. After stating I was, Obama stated he could purchase cocaine for me and then made a telephone call. This too is significant, from a cell phone to a presently unknown individual, during which Senator Obama arranged the cocaine purchase.
Woo! We're the new rock stars. Come on, Doc, go get the good drink. Boy, I tell you, if money had a dick, George Michaels would be a flaming faggot. Oh, Diet Coke? Oh, yeah. I love Diet Coke. Oh, God, I drink it every day. It's good. Oh, yeah. Only 1 calorie. Okay, is my check signed yet? Oh, God. Make me fucking sick.
I did ingest a couple of lines of cocaine, and shortly thereafter, Senator Obama produced a glass cylinder pipe and packet of crack cocaine from his pocket. Obama then smoked the crack cocaine. I performed fellatio on Senator Obama in the limousine during the time Senator Obama was smoking crack cocaine.
This world, man, before I go, I gotta tell you about the world that I see. And it's sad sometimes. You ever realize that we live in a world where good men are murdered and mediocre hacks thrive? You ever notice that? John Kennedy murdered. Gandhi murdered. Martin Luther King murdered. Jesus murdered. Reagan wounded. Cancer 8 times. Now that fucker still walks, doesn't he? That guy is Jason, man. You can take off that hockey mask just once. You're going to find, well, I'm back. People love him. Love him. Every fact points that he's a liar, corporate puppet, devil, cock-sucking fascist. Every fact points to that. Not one fact to the opposite. But what happens? We love you, Ronnie. 4 more years. 4 more years. Let's put him on Mount Rushmore. Let's put him under Mount Rushmore. They love him. How far up your ass does this guy's dick have to be before you realize he's fucking you, man? People are just, I like him. I don't know what it is. He looks good on TV. He brought back patriotism. God damn it, he's a good American. Hold it, something's slapping my ass. Oh my God, he's fucking us! Well, Nancy and I feel that Man, you might know, as John Wayne once told me, man, you might remember if Jimmy Stewart, well, shut the fuck up. You answer a question like a man, you fucking lion, B-actor, pigweed, Mr. President, sir. In all due respect. Now we got his little incubus underling, Georgie Bush, in there. Boy, when they said anybody in America could grow up to be president, I didn't know what the fuck that meant until this year. Anybody. A body of water. A dead body. Who does Shell want in there? Who does Diet Coke want as president? That's what it is. Fuck.
From a Rand Paul office source, we'll just leave it at that. Rand Paul's sources tell us there was an anomaly or a blip in the scanner reading, which I see with most people. Again, it's all about more and more groping. And Rand was called aside for a second screening. He offered to rescan, but was only given the option of a pat-down. He refused the pat-down and was taken aside and detained.
Hey, Senator Paul. My name is Luke of We Are Change. We had an interesting conversation before about the Bilderberg Group, and knowing what you know, how can you support Mitt Romney when The Guardian reported he was at the Bilderberg meeting?
The senator just got out of a meeting when
we're having a private conversation right now. You can make an appointment to stop by sometime.
I know it's a comfortable question. I know you know a lot about the Bilderberg Group, and we just want to know, why would you endorse? I know you're playing politics, but is politics really that dirty? Rand, the Bilderberg Group is a very serious group.
You can get Jessica online and I'll talk to her about that.
A lot of people have a lot of questions about your endorsement of Romney, and I think the Bilderberg one is very poignant. Also Goldman Sachs, when I interviewed you, you called for an audit.
Did you find out that Robert was able to get back to the apartment? Did you get him along the right way?
Okay, thanks.
He was willing to talk to me before I brought up Bilderberg.
I'm sorry, we can't continue this conversation. Right
you were willing to talk to me before I brought up the Bilderberg Group and your endorsement of Romney. I mean, you know, The Guardian reported eyewitnesses seeing him.
He's going to be inside or outside.
He's going to be outside. Everybody's all lined up, and we are ready.
Probably the only way to be done. Best one is probably to go inside.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right.
I know you're just trying to keep this conversation so I don't keep talking, but I mean, you called for an audit of Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs is the top contributor of Romney. Do you still believe we should have an audit of Goldman Sachs and the Federal Reserve? Mr. Rand Paul? We're just trying to get answers here.
Are you planning on going into the reception?
Yes, I'll accompany you there, and then if you want, I can drive you back to your house, or do you have your car?
Okay, so Mitt Romney goes to Bilderberg. Just a couple days. The London Guardian reports on it. Eyewitnesses have seen him there, almost 4. You know what you know about the Bilderberg Group. You told me yourself they want a one-world government and that they are here to collude power and use government to get richer. And right after Romney is spotted at the Bilderberg Group, you endorse Romney.
I have some of the remarks.
And
I need to stop by the office.
we just want to know what's going on here, Rand.
Get the remainder of those.
You were willing to talk to me before I brought up Bilderberg. It's a very serious concern. We just asked for a conversation and a dialogue. I'm sure you could explain yourself and to our audience if you give it a try. But by walking away, you know, you're kind of indicting yourself, making yourself look somewhat guilty. But
I think then
we could have held the whole conversation.
we should probably try to see if we can find a spot inside.
I think that's probably...
We could have explained everything to our audience. They're only going to have more questions about you, Mr. Rand, and you're only hurting yourself by not answering the question. And I'm being as polite as I can be. I'm not making any accusations. I'm not trying to say you're so loud, even though a lot of people do say that. I'm just trying to get answers, and that's why I'm here talking to you, and that's why I'm persistent the way I am. I know you could hear me.
This weekend, so that was so are you all doing?
Rand, I know you're trying to ignore me, but the video will play for itself. It will be on YouTube. You could redeem yourself. We're trying to give you a chance to redeem yourself, and all you're doing is walking away, sadly. And
If you would like to get comment from us, please.
he's not going to comment on the Bilderberg. I've already been around the Senate building. They never give comments. Before you became senator, you talked about the Bilderberg Group and auditing Goldman Sachs. Right now, you're supporting Romney. A lot of your supporters are let down, and I'm let down by your reaction. Since Rand Paul wouldn't answer my questions, we're sending in backup. We got the one and only Abby Martin. Just took her to the Senate building. What do you think of the Senate building, Abby?
It's very surreal. Looks like a haunted house.
Go, Abby, come here. Come here. Walk up behind him and just say, hey, my name's Abby from Media Roots. One quick question as we walk, and then ask him the question. Ask him the question.
Hey, Rand. Abby Martin from Media Roots. I just wanted to ask you one quick question. You know, your endorsement for Mitt Romney. People have a lot of questions about it. I just wanted to see your opinion on it. What do you think about all of Ron Paul's followers and just your father's movement catering to the establishment that's shut you guys out for so long? Are you concerned with what this is going to do for the liberty movement as a whole, sir? Sir, Romney endorses all of the policies that you've been voting against for so long. NDAA, drones. He wants to expand the military to twice its size. Do you have any comment on that, sir? Your endorsement to him just blanketly says that all those policies should be enacted.
Okay. Good job. Let's keep moving. We can't go in that area, so we're not going to walk in that area. We're just going to keep it moving. Obviously, keep filming, Dustin. Obviously, he was afraid of the questions and ducked and dived into the first area that we couldn't get into. And I think he did a very stellar job. Good on him. I know your thing jumps and you get really nervous, and then you just got to go with it. You did very well.
The woman blocked me, but
yeah, the woman was pushing you and blocking you.
You know, he got the point that a lot of people are really upset and want answers of why he's blanketly endorsing these policies that he claims he's against.
Yeah. I tried to have a nice conversation with him. Obviously, he doesn't like you too, or he just doesn't like real questions.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when people confront you about real issues. You just duck and dive. That's the politician way.
That's Washington, D.C. for you.
He's been drinking the water.
It's a little bit about 9/11 and a lot about a urinal deuce, because they're much the same. Yeah. And there was like a big, you know, it's still going on, but like, it's pretty amazing the statistics on the number of people who think that the U.S. government like perpetrated the 9/11 attacks.
Nobody wants to believe this. What you're saying right now.
Come on,
do you know how many
everybody
people
believes it now.
Everybody now, but there's a lot of people out there, especially folks that are like maybe in their 50s that have had like a normal job and go to barbecues on the weekends and they go to church. They don't ever want to like think too far outside the box.
Yeah.
What you're saying is so fucking far outside the box that there's a lot of people that are going, no. You're taking it too far. They didn't cause 911.
Proof's all there.
What do you think is what's the number one piece of proof to you that Dick Cheney caused that to happen?
The war games. They were all under his control.
Because of the fact, it couldn't have been coincidental. It couldn't have been that maybe someone knew that he was doing these war games, so they figured that's a time to attack because, they had some inside people in the army that knew of this, and then they leaked the information, and they said, well, we'll get them while they're weak. Do you think it's possible?
Did you just listen to what you were explaining and how, like, not credible that sounded?
It sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
I agree. But I'm just giving you a what if, because I watched Mission Impossible 5 the other night, and it was
my God,
pretty badass up until the end. But I'm willing to suspend disbelief. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I mean, is it possible that happened or no?
No.
No way.
No. Come on. You had of the 19 hijackers. I think we know that 5 had received training at U.S. military bases. Mohammed Atta, Gunter Annex, to Maxwell Air Force Base, and I have all of that in the book.
But hold on a second. If you think that the planes were taken over at remote control, do you think that people were, that hijackers were actually really on the planes and attacked?
Okay. The hijackers were on the planes, but they
didn't know, or they did know?
Well, there were 12 I call patsies who were like sacrificial hijackers. They were never meant to live anyway. They were on the planes, definitely. Planes were flown by remote control because, pilots like Al-Hazmi or Al-Midar, whoever was supposedly flying the plane into into the Pentagon. You know, that's a maneuver like one of the most experienced pilots in the world couldn't make. And this was a guy who couldn't get a multi-engine license. He couldn't get an instrument rating. He had no hours. It's not possible. None of those maneuvers could have been performed by any of those people. So,
Wow.
and I hold some question as to whether Mohammed Atta and several of the ones that I and Michelle Chossudovsky, and some great work was done on the flight training by Daniel Hopsicker.
I've seen
early
some stuff
on. Hopsicker
online.
did amazing work about the Venice Flying School and Mohammed Atta's Flying Circus, and all real hard documentation. So I wasn't alone. It was me and Michelle Chossudovsky, Dan Hopsicker, and Paul Thompson. We were the four guys who really did 90% of the 9/11 research.
Enlighten me about the argument when it comes to the physics of actually flying a plane. I had read that it's much more difficult to do, like physically difficult to do what they were doing by steering it than it is to do it by remote control.
Yes.
What they were doing is physically hard to do because of the G-force of the turn and everything.
Well, and it's also the calculation.
Mhm.
Now you have to understand that when you're flying a 757 or 767 and you're coming out of a turn onto the North Tower.
Right, you got to know what the fuck you're doing.
You got to be
good at that shit.
That's like a Formula One race driver driving
through
a chicane holding the perfect line.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Like, what's to keep that fucking plane from spinning upside down now if this asshole, is spinning it around a circle like that? Well, he knows how to do that with a jet?
No.
A giant jumbo jet?
These guys couldn't fly. They weren't licensed to fly a regular old Cessna.
So how many people know about it altogether? If you had to guess, if you said, okay, there's Dick Cheney, and he's the guy that you perceive as being the mastermind, and then there's a bunch of people who also have to be in on it because they have to rig these planes with remote control capability, and they have to.
That's already there.
Order NATO to stand down. They have to do all these different things that they did that day. How many people?
It's compartmentalized intelligence. Now, remember, I come from a spook family. So let's say you're making an atom bomb.
Right.
So some guy in Oak Ridge, Tennessee might be doing something to enrich uranium. Some guy someplace else might be making part of a super hard steel casing to contain the blast for one of the bombs. Somebody else may be working on it. Nobody knows what the finished product looks like.
Right.
But
there has to be a few at the top. How many people do you think knew?
I'm guessing 30, 40, 50.
That's terrifying. It's terrifying that 40 or 50 people would be willing to do that and that they could all find each other and form a gang, and actually make something like this happen.
And they just hang out at NASA all the time.
Yeah. Not NASA.
Or
some Army, Pentagon
Army
type
NASA.
place. Now,
soundstage.
Do you think that the thing that hit the Pentagon was a jet, or was it a missile?
No, it was an airplane.
It was an airplane.
Well, okay. Again, I was a cop, right?
Right.
And so when I was
another remote controlled airplane, you believe?
No.
No?
But yes,
Yes.
definitely.
That's why I was able to do something so crazy.
That was a 270-degree loop turn coming in with the engine cowlings probably 5 feet off the deck.
Yeah.
A human pilot can't do that.
Really?
Remote control can. But here's
because they've had. I'm sorry, but they've had people actually try to attempt that in an aviation simulator, and they weren't able to do it.
No.
Is it a physical issue? I don't understand what it is.
Skilled.
You'd have to be just some badass fucking race car driver motherfucker who knows how to get around the Nürburgring in 719, right?
But-
Is that what it is?
Yes. And you must have practiced that one turn 10,000 times.
Right. Yeah.
You practice moves in martial
Bruce
arts.
Lee
How
always
often do you
said.
work a kata before you know? Okay, so the Pentagon sits in a bowl. I was born in Washington, D.C. I know it, okay? And 395 runs around the Pentagon, and you can look right down, and you see the whole Pentagon sitting down there. It's like sitting in the Rose Bowl, okay? Now, there were more than 400 witnesses on I-395. Truck drivers, cab drivers, soccer moms, you name it. They all saw an airplane hit the Pentagon, and they would testify in court.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they saw. So regardless of what anybody thinks, I'm not going to argue the point is. The fact is to try the case in court and to hang Dick Cheney, which I can do without going down that side alley.
Mm-hmm.
It's not important to me. But I do think a jet plane hit the Pentagon.
Well, they released that footage, but it was like stop action. It was only a few frames, and you can't really clearly make out what the hell it is.
Yeah.
Why do you think they did that? Why don't they release like some clear footage?
Well,
Because they don't want people using it for propaganda. I mean,
in the intelligence business, there's a program called COINTELPRO and many other programs that have been used and developed by CIA and Army intelligence on the creation of false legends and false stories. And one of the biggest deals in the intelligence trade is to do a dangle. A dangle, let's say I'm a spy, a dangle would be like a 5'10" woman right out of my ultimate sexual fantasy, you know, blah, blah. That's a dangle. But sometimes a dangle comes in the form of information. Sometimes a dangle comes in the form of a tempting lead that looks like it's going to really take you somewhere. Now, disinformation, in order to be effective, has to be 90% true. Otherwise, you won't swallow it. You won't buy it. So there's a poison pill that they put in. You swallow the 10% poison pill, and then if you ever get enough traction, they activate the poison and kill you. So I do believe a plane hit the Pentagon, and what we saw, we never saw a jetliner hit in any of those films.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think that was bait. To see if that action got enough traction, then at some point they would come up and actually show you the video of a jetliner hitting, and all of a sudden everything else you've bought into as a result is discredited.
Will the system/elite/New World Order, who undoubtedly are aware of technological unemployment, allow this to happen? I think there are two possible answers. One, they will find us new jobs, or two, order out of chaos, they will bring in the New World Order. Any light shed on these quite scary thoughts would be appreciated. Well, first of all, my friend, I don't share the definition of New World Order that you do. The New World Order is not an elite group. It's a tendency that's continually generated for monopolistic domination. It is a monetary gaming strategy notion on one side, and then it's an ego manifestation on another side. The New World Order is a tendency, and I think it's important people realize this. I don't even use that language. New World Order is probably one of the most empty terms out there at this point. I'm nothing but bored, stupid at these radio talk show hosts and various personalities that seem to think that babbling about this invisible ruling elite is the highest echelon of social activism they could come up with. And it gets very superstitious as well. Suddenly everything in the world is a product of this infamous Illuminati-derived New World Order elite. And it's a fantasy, and the whole thing is fucking stupid.
Jack, if I could start with you. I know you've been working on this for some time, but you are an extraordinary Renaissance man, aren't you? You've done lots of interesting things in your life.
That I don't know, but I've worked on a lot of things.
You've designed lots of different things.
Yes, I have.
And how did you come to conceive of a new society?
During the major depression in the States, since people were sleeping in every lot, I looked around in stores and they had radios and vacuum cleaners, but people didn't have money. So what good is all that? It seemed to me that our nation was capable of producing all the goods and services and making it available to people, but the government did not. At that time, Roosevelt was in, while Hoover said, prosperity is right around the corner. But those are just words. I've learned then that politicians say things people like to hear. But I found out in reading scientific books and journals that scientists do not speak to win approval. If the majority of people believe the earth is flat, they come right out and they say, this is the evidence we have to prove it's round. Now, they don't say it's a little round and a little flat. Then you get along with everybody. It's not the business of science to get along. I listened to socialists, and I asked questions. I said, how will you prevent corruption? They didn't have any answers. Then there was a guy speaking on communism, mankind united, all kinds of ideas, back to the good old days, people growing their own food. But I was standing in front of a communist, and he said, beat it, son. I was just a kid, because there are mostly adults around. I said, no, I want to hear what you've got to say. He said, why? I said, well, I don't believe what the Republicans say about the Democrats or what the Democrats say about the Republicans. I want to hear from a communist what communism is. He said, you can stay. Then I started, and attending religious sessions, the minister said how wonderful the divine plan was. God makes it rain to make the plants grow. So I raised my hand. I said, why does it rain at sea? So he said, hold your hands out, and he beat the daylights out of me. And I didn't understand him. I thought he was kind of stupid individual. He should have said, well, maybe I never thought of that. That's interesting. I wanted answers. I don't want to follow anybody, and I don't want anybody to follow me. If what I say makes sense, do it. If it doesn't, get off.
We were talking about how the Zeitgeist movement...
If the Zeitgeist movement doesn't support the project, we will pull out of it. Because there's nothing we can do. They just meet and talk. If they work toward raising funds to support the project, it'll be real. Otherwise, it'll just be a verbal thing, you know, people talking. I only talk to people to see if they get out there and do something. Talk to other people. Talk to government agencies. Talk to the UN. Talk to corporations. See if they'll finance some of the architecture. They don't need to finance the whole thing. But we don't do anything. Let's say it costs $500,000 to do one segment. The money goes in escrow. We don't start till we have enough to do a whole segment. Because they only put up enough money to do 2 buildings, then it stops. You can't do anything. How to bridge the difference between nations. How do you get to nations that have a totally different value system than we do? Here's how you get there. It's very easy. The War Department doesn't know these things. They're comprised of very stupid men that are concerned with defense only. Here's how you do it. You approach a nation on the basis that they all need the same things we need. Clean air, clean water, arable land, and a relevant education. That means no investment brokers, no bankers, no advertising, just people that know agronomy, geology, structural engineering, physics, science. Everything that you have, your radio, your television set, your washing machine, your refrigerator, is technology. Politicians have no knowledge of anything. They're lawyers and businessmen elected to political office who don't know the fundamentals of how people get to be the way they are. If I get a quote, it's $3 million is what we need. But the whole city might cost $50 million or more. If we can get that from the Venezuelan government or Caracas or something, fine. But the money goes in escrow until the amount is reached that you can put up the buildings. Otherwise you can't. But first funds have to be raised for the planning, the blueprints and all that. That'll take 6 months for us to get the drawings out. But that's the first part. Then we get the drawings out, we submit it to contractors. They say it'll cost you $10 million or $50 million to put up that whole city. Right now, we're not equipped to put up the city. But if they do it, we have something to show.
Jacques, can you please ask Martin not to put, if the Zeitgeist members don't put up some money for that, we pull out. I don't want that kind of hostility.
I want.
Can you pull that out?
I want to, anything I put
Please.
out, I first want to get in contact with you anyway.
Because there's a lot of members in the Zeitgeist movement who are working really hard, and they're working honestly.
What do you mean by working hard? If you don't do
They're
anything
reading,
to make it
they're
happen.
talking to people, they're helping to spread the words, they're going out on the streets, they're working really hard, Jacques. And Peter, it's Peter's, under Peter's direction, saying that we're not going to be collecting any money. This is only an educational organization to help spread. I understand that, but don't say stuff like you're going to pull out. I don't want that published.
If they don't support it.
That's too much hostility. They support it and how they're working towards it. That's still supporting it.
Okay. I don't
But
agree with you.
financially, we do need a call. Nobody has ever put out a call for finances. Peter has always objected to do that.
Well, how does he propose to get it built?
So we have to start
How does he
shifting it.
propose?
I have no argument against that. I agree. But we have to organize a change in that. But to say we're just going to pull out if you don't
The members will say, when are you going to build the city? And I say, well, it isn't up to us, it's up to you.
I know, but we have to start putting that information out. In terms of asking for help, we haven't done that yet. We haven't. In fact, Peter has done quite the opposite.
If they don't help.
I know, but I don't want to put that in. It'll cause, I guarantee you, it'll cause a lot of trouble.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want that in there.
I'll get you all the material anyway, and every time before I put something out, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Because I'll make sure I cut it at my place.
Make sure they understand that it won't happen unless they make it happen.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
That's better.
Because if they all say, good luck, build your city, when you get it built, let us know we're coming to move in. Say no to drugs is really stupid. Whoever proposed that, as long as there's money in drugs, they're going to sell drugs. I'm very realistic about that kind of stuff. Roxanne's more tolerant.
No, I'm not more tolerant, but we haven't asked for that yet. We haven't put out a call, and Peter has done just the opposite.
They don't know if they don't support it, it won't happen.
Okay, that's what we have to tell them, but not say, if you don't support it, we're pulling out, but you know what I mean.
No, I'm telling him that.
No, you're on tape. You're on tape.
If they don't support the project, this is nothing.
That's right.
If you got that on film, I'm talking to you. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's all right, but you know what I mean.
And you can either leave that on or out.
I'll cut it out.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, Roxanne thinks at some point you tell them that. And they say, well, we just don't want to support it financially. Well, then it has no meaning.
No, that's not what people say. They want to contribute, even financially.
Okay, so whatever they can contribute in escrow, you know what that means? Goes in the bank until you get the full amount to do the city.
But we do have to converse with Peter and get a general consensus of the direction if he wants to move it that way. If not, we'll just have to look someplace else.
Yeah. Oh, what would the zeitgeist movement be?
I don't know. Maybe just what it's doing now. That's what we have to talk about. What direction we want to move it in. Because we haven't lately. Peter's been busy.
Everybody says, all right, what can we do? That's what you can do.
Yeah.
And I have to talk to Peter, too. If he says, no, we just want to talk about it.
What's your role?
Well, I've been working with him and doing everything I can to help this direction, because I really think it's the only viable alternative out there. When I heard about it, it made more sense than anything I'd ever heard of. The activists today are upset about what's going on, and they're a watchdog of this system, but they don't pose any alternatives. So we're not trying to fix this system. We don't think you can fix it. That's doing patchwork. You can't really make this system, the monetary system, just or equitable. They say it's a democracy and you have freedom, but you're really as free as your purchasing power. There really is no democracy. That's a word that they get people to go fight and die for, and to us it really means nothing. We don't see how it means anything in this culture. You don't, you know, when people say we live in a democracy and we're a participatory democracy, and we say, well, did you vote for the space age? Did you vote for the Iraq war? Did you vote for libraries or bridges in any areas? No. You vote for who they put up. And those people...
And they only have two parties, don't they? They have only two parties.
To us, they have one party.
Well, they may have, but they have two different names, don't they? In America, you have the Democrats and the Republicans.
And they represent big business. So this is an entirely different system. And we pose an entirely different social design. We look at what causes the problems and try and design a society that eliminates war, poverty, hunger, crime, and that can be done today, but not within a monetary system.
You know, these are some of your ideas, are they?
Yes.
And you've designed these buildings?
Yes.
I mean, they're stunning buildings. I would be very happy to live in either one of those two, for instance.
Well, actually, they're all transitional. There's no final architecture or final frontiers, final city. Even the best city I design will be a straitjacket to the kids of the future. They'll design their own cities. And if you make a statue of me, that holds back the future. So yeah, there's no more self-ego involved. Most architects design tall buildings and feel proud of it. They should design buildings for living, comfort, safety, earthquake-proof, fire-proof, termite-proof, and architects don't do that. They're all little personalities that seek recognition. You don't fight for recognition. You fight for elimination of the problems. When people are saner, they will not want a Nobel Prize. Because if you work on cancer 10 years and I read your book and find out what didn't work, and I come up 2 years later, I win a Nobel Prize, I feel that everybody working on cancer works just as hard as you do. So I don't think there should be Nobel Prizes. They should work because they believe in making life better for people.
I've got to come back to this same question though. How do you get the world to change? You know, assuming that your ideas are acceptable to the majority, and I'm not sure that they are. We'll get to that. But assuming that they are acceptable to the majority and everyone finds them attractive, and you were able to disseminate these ideas all around the world, and everybody bought into them. You know what I mean? How do you get to that point? How do you get to the point where everybody buys into it?
The question is, how do you get from here to there?
Yeah, and how do you stop the people who are really in power?
I understand.
From clinging on to what they've got.
First thing that has to happen, they have to have an economic problem. That's what happened during the Depression. That's when socialism, communism, fascism all emerged.
But we've got that now, Jack. We've got an economic.
We're in that process now.
But I don't see anybody going, oh, let's get rid of money.
Wait a while. We're nearing the turning point. See, now, all over the world, societies are breaking down, and politicians don't know what to do. They gave the money, I'm talking about America, because that's where I came from. They gave the money to the people that created the problem in the first place. Then they bail out the automobile factories. When they were going broke, they didn't even want to close the plant, and they bailed them out. The automobile companies never submitted a blueprint with a car better than Toyota, faster than Toyota, better built at a lower price. If they don't submit that, and the public doesn't have purchasing power due to losing their jobs, who the hell's going to buy these new cars?
Well, they're giving cash for clunkers, as they call them in America, and we've got a scrappage scheme in the UK as well. So
yes, all over the world, all governments are corrupt. Did you get that message? All of them are corrupt. The way it happens is the system has to fall. People have to lose confidence in their elected leaders. I have no control. At that time, when they try to solve problems and it doesn't work, then the public will say, be looking for new ideas. They don't give a damn right now. As long as they're working, paying off their home and car, that's all they're concerned with. There's no automobiles. There's circular elevators that take you anywhere. Here's where I got the idea. Radio City, New York, the Empire State Building, takes 1 million people up and down and never crash into one another. So we turn the elevators out that way. So you dial where you want to go, the Art Center, Music Center, just like an elevator, and it takes you there. Putting people in automobiles is a stupid thing. More people are killed on the highways than war. And you say drive safely. Those are words. We don't have drive safely. During the transition, the automobiles have a sensor on it. So if I'm 40 feet away from your car, if I got mad at you, I couldn't hit you. The sensor would stop my car. That's what I mean by intelligent management of the Earth's resources. Politicians cannot do that. They don't understand technology. Today the problems are technical, not political. As soon as people get that through their heads, if they do, they'll understand that war is the most corrupt, supreme failure of nations to bridge the difference. You have a Pentagon in Washington that defends this country. Well, what happened at Pearl Harbor, we gave them radar, and the kids detected the enemy planes coming over. And they called the captain, he says, probably our planes. What the hell good are these people if they don't know how to defend it? Then the people that couldn't afford armies hijacked 2 airplanes and flew into the trade centers, you see. And we never said, why did they do that? How can we build so much hatred into people? What did we do in the past? Nobody seems to know that.
Well, Jack, a lot of people who watch this program believe that it was the American government that flew those planes into the World Trade. Yes, a conspiracy.
I don't buy that.
The world is still the same place, but they don't have any money in their pockets. It's the rules of the game that we play by that are screwed up.
You clearly don't believe in 9/11 as a conspiracy, but do you believe in the Illuminati? Do you believe that there are people who control this world and have a secret agenda? And, okay, they've got everything already. They're not going to be in love with your idea because they've got everything.
They're not.
And we're their slaves.
What do you do about
we're
that?
their robots.
Is that your question? What do you do about those in control
That is my question.
that run everything?
What's the answer?
Here's what we do about it.
Malcolm X was kept under heavy FBI surveillance since he got out of prison back in 1953. As he rose to national prominence as the black Muslims' chief spokesman, he became aware that he was under close watch.
Our desire, our prayer, that we can have a peaceful, intelligent rally here this afternoon. But at the same time, we see that they have surrounded us with many of their own agents in uniform and out of uniform.
That surveillance escalated into the infiltration of the Nation of Islam. Personal frailties were played upon, jealousy arose, and Malcolm was ultimately ousted from that organization. This caused an intense climate of rivalry that set the stage for Malcolm's assassination in February of 1965.
Because you cannot ever underestimate niggas. We way too motherfucking strong.
Hey, Jack, can you get a witness on that?
You need it.
I look pretty hurried right now. That's because I was forced to the ground and held down by several police officers. They singled me out because I had a camera. They lunged.
In the early days, when I met a member of the Ku Klux Klan and they beat up a black guy, I said, that guy didn't hurt you. Why are you beating him up? You know what they said back to me? Goddamn nigger lover from the north. They just didn't hear that. So I had to learn how to say, years later, when a guy said to me, you're a smart guy, John, what do you think of the Ku Klux Klan? I said, it's a great organization, but it doesn't go far enough. That gets their ear. I said, what do you mean? They do not listen if you criticize them.
It's the world's first robot prison guard. And according to the Asian Forum of Corrections, it's the future of prison security.
The Correction Service robot observes the prisoner's behavior, and when it detects any abnormality, it can record and transmit the situation in real time to the remote control center.
Lee Pak-chol, the forum chairman, says the robot is a game changer.
The purpose of developing this kind of robot is to secure prisoners' life and safety and to decrease the workload of correctional officers in a poor working environment.
The robot was developed in South Korea and is currently undergoing its first field trial. Equipped with 3D cameras and software designed to study human behavior, the robot is able to detect abnormal prison activity and report it back to its controllers.
The prisoners are protected from incidents such as suicide, arson, and assault.
3D depth camera를 통해서 By using the 3D depth camera, it will detect every detail of action happening inside through a window. So when there's unusual behavior, it's going to analyze it and report the problem to the control system. Therefore, correctional officers will run and arrive at the scene in time.
It recognizes repeated behaviors of prisoners and detects anomalies in advance, preventing incidents from arising in the first place.
An officer can also use the robot's two-way wireless system to communicate with a prisoner without having to leave the control room. The robot has been designed to patrol a prison autonomously, but an iPad will allow manual control as well. The next step, say designers, is a robot that conducts body searches, although they admit neither the technology nor the prison system is quite ready for a step that far into the future.
Yeah. Meet me in front of Strand Books at 2. Oh man, really?
Hey there, guy. Hey there, little guy.
Sweet. Remind me to buy tickets for Monsieur Gano tonight. Where's the music section? Oh, yes, this is it. Is Paul here yet? Huh. Hey, dude, how's it going?
Want to go check out that new place I was telling you about?
Sure.
This truck's really good.
Hey, just a second. Cool.
Good to see you again.
Thanks, man.
Just got a new place in Offset City.
See you, dude. Whoa, cool. Take a photo of this. Share it to my circles. Oh, I'm running late. Music, stop.
Hi, what's up?
Hey.
Hey.
You want to say something cool?
Yeah, sure. Is that a ukulele?
Yep. Okay, here goes.
That's beautiful.
He will never talk about the CIA to him. He will never give anything away whatsoever, except one bit of advice. He said, never watch the television. Never watch the television. It's the greatest scientific indoctrination tool ever devised. Haven't you figured that out? It's changed the whole culture of nations, not just one nation. Why do you think it was mandatory that everybody in Britain have access to televisions by the government? Why do you think China is under the same program to get everyone to the TV right now? Because they love to have the entertainment.
It turns out that police officials are increasingly ignoring violent crimes, and they are using all of their resources to arrest and prosecute people who have possession of marijuana.
You emulate things, you mimic what you see. As Charles Galton, Darwin and others have said in the past. It becomes you.
Local
You become
police
it.
departments profit
And
from arresting and prosecuting
that's
people
what's
who
happened.
have
It's been
possession of
very, very
marijuana.
successful. Never watch the television. You can't watch a movie unless you do it critically. If you watch it critically, not there to enjoy it. Remember what they say, it's your emotions that get you on. And it's interwoven all these emotional themes all through movies. You're played like a harp. And they embed ideas into you, along with the movies. And predictive programming too, so you'll accept that which is still
So the first thing is that they get federal
and
anti-drug
you'll
grants.
behave the same way as the characters in the movie when it comes. Oh well, what can you do? I'll just watch much music, television.
You get this grant if you can show that you have arrested enough people.
First of all, instantly, look at the incentive structure that they do.
You're given a mind of your own, and you've got to use it for yourself. And believe you me, if you ever had a nation or wanted a nation, you'd have to make sure that everyone took their turn. Everyone took their turn, just like jury duty, to go in and oversee the guys that are supposed to be taking care of everything on your behalf. It's a tight club right now. It's been like that forever, because they never intended to give you anything called democracy, or, in fact, a republic. Gangs and fraternities run the systems of the countries. That's how they're run.
There's many levels to this matrix. And the beauty of it is most people don't know they're in it. They think it's all quite natural. That's the beauty of perfect propaganda and indoctrination.
All wealth comes from labor. When they take your labor from you, give you nothing back for it. That's called stealing and slavery. Slavery, folks. But no teacher told you that, did they? Look at the dictionaries, you can find an old enough one, because you keep changing them too.
They can do something known as asset forfeiture, okay? So, for example, police can legally seize property from people merely suspected of drug crimes, and they can basically get a hold of the cash, and that cash goes back to the police department. It doesn't go back to the person who's arrested. When it comes to non-cash property, it's auctioned off, and that money goes back to the police department.
So, look, if you got raped, or you got seriously assaulted and you lost an eye, etc., there's no profit in it for the cops. I mean, hopefully they'll get to it, right? But if you had a little bit of marijuana or cocaine or whatever in your Mercedes, hey, they got a Mercedes, and they get money from the federal government. Wow, gee, I wonder which one they're going to put more effort into.
1981 to 1995, there were a total of 33,775 marijuana arrests. However,
there's male levels to this matrix. And the beauty of it is most people don't know they're in it. They think it's all quite natural. That's the beauty of perfect propaganda and indoctrination.
Between 1996 to 2010, there were more than 500,000 marijuana arrests. 500,000!
Gee, I wonder if it had an effect. I can't quite tell.
Hello again, human beings on planet Earth.
Well, the first thing to point out is that differential advantage isn't something that you really choose in this system. You either work the game that's been set up and survive fiscally, meaning you have a job and you pursue it, and you are basically in competition with the organization you work with, the corporation, or you're in competition with other laborers that want your job. Differential advantage takes many different forms, and I always want to point that out. In order for any of us to survive, we all have to engage in that type of semi-corrupt social behavior. That's just the kind of social Darwinism that's been set up. That's just the way it is. It's all an issue of degree when you look at, say, the quote 1%. Who are these people? These are the best game players, the best people that strategize with differential advantage. They know what they're doing, and they think it's good. And why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they think it's good to have billions and billions of dollars while a billion people are starving? Why wouldn't they think that? Because that's everything the system has ever taught them as far as what defines their value and self-worth and status and success. So.
Oh my gosh, can you believe this?
There's the paradox of the chicken and the egg thing. Who changes first? It's the consciousness of the people or the environment that produces them? Obviously it's going to be a combination.
Be conscious?
You remove the game. You remove the game itself. If you realize we're causal organisms, and as controversial as that is, people don't like to think of themselves as being that influenced by others. They don't like to assume. They like to think there's this heavy free will thing and that they're making their own decisions, but we're really not making our own decisions per se. We have a small threshold of free will, as it's called. Every word I'm saying has been taught to me, all the values that we all share historically, traditionally. Our political affiliations are all groomed and we're shaped and molded through our lives. So the financial system as it exists, because I used to be a trader, I used to be of the greediest mentality. I wanted to escape from this system. It wasn't that bad, but I wanted to get away, and the only thing I could think of was that. And my focus for many years was how to gain the most differential advantage in every situation I could get, because that's what I was taught. And that was what the environment required from me. I didn't have a moral aptitude for that. All that was irrelevant. It didn't mean anything. And it doesn't mean anything to most people when your survival is contingent upon that game and when everything seems to support and reward that behavior. So to be corrupt is normal in the system. That's really the way it is. It's an anti-social system. We live in a pseudo-social system. So my point, though, is that the environment is corrupting all of us. Corrupting all of us. And if you want to change human behavior, yes, it's going to take an introspective thing for especially now, obviously, to see how many people are suffering, all the things that are going on in the world, the horrors that really are a consequence of this system, to have that empathy, and then to realize that, yes, you might be able to change yourself to a certain degree, but you're still playing the same game that you've always played. So every time you walk into a store, every time you work for a corporation, every time you gain employment over someone else who's applying for that job, you are engaging in an antisocial behavior, which is basically the root stem that leads to all the other non-empathetic behaviors you see in the world. So, until the system changes, not that much can be said.
You're going to hang yourself. I'm going to watch you swing. You're going to hang yourself. I'm going to gonna watch you swing. Swing. Swing.
Some favor going to war and others want to avoid war at all costs.
It's a bitch, ain't it? You can just pass the blunt to the nigga on your left, on your left. You can just pass the blunt to the nigga on your left, on your left.
Try to point somebody in a possible, solution, a different way of thinking. And if you even that out a little bit, I think it'll be a little bit easier to get by. And I think that's where our strength's going to need to come from anyway, is helping to build ourselves up by what is possible.
You can just pass the blunt to the nigga on your left, on your left. You can just pass the blunt to the nigga on your left, on your left.
Psychologically. I mean, I walk around, all I see is inefficiency everywhere. All I see is absurdity and obnoxious. I'm completely ruined. But that's part of the process.